Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 10. As you would expect, most of our time today will be focused on expanding that newly started ring of logistics towers around the equator of our home planet. We have a lot of catching up to do, so the sooner we get on that, the better. Apart from that, we will of course continue maintaining the base, adding new buildings wherever needed, keeping the research going, and ensuring that the flow of resources is as continuous and smooth as possible. Before we get started, I would love it if you subscribe to the channel, and clicking the like button will let me know that this video was worth making. If you want to help me make a living off this one day, please consider becoming a channel member, where you will get an early access to the videos as I make them, and for a one-time donation, you can find a link to my Ko-fi page in the description. But enough talking, let's get into it. We will start things off by making some room in our inventory, grabbing some extra fuel, and then we start looking for the stuff we need to keep expanding. We had two options to keep building the ring, and going this way seemed like the best choice. This way the drones don't have to fly over the entire starter base, only the dark fog farm. Now, I already knew that we need to space the towers out every 9 degrees on the planet longitudinal lines. This made it easy to measure where the next one goes, even if we have big gaps, like we do with the farm, and that oil well we just ran into. I think the next item we take care of will be the gears. They only need a single component, namely iron plates, so we can make a layout similar to the one we used for the furnaces. Almost perfect, except for a single inserter. But we can just move that one, and it's all fine. Now we just copy the whole thing over to the other side, hook up the different input and output belts, and we are pretty much done. Okay, we are obviously missing some assemblers, so let's go and stock up on them at the base. Now this place just needs power. Thankfully we had some long-range power poles at hand, so going around the farm wasn't as complicated as it could have been. Well, since we have a lot of juice going to these new towers anyway, We might as well use this opportunity to expand the wind turbines, and use them as a bridge to reach the main base. I would like to keep the area around the existing smelting arrays as clean as possible for the future. Okay, let's see what we can make next. The circuit boards seem like a good choice. We will need them in large numbers as we expand the base. This one is very similar to the one we built in the last episode for the magnetic coils. It's the same 2-component input layout, so we can safely recycle that one for this, and we only need to deal with some recipes in the assemblers. Oops. I meant to select copper on that outlet port. Good thing the belts are relatively short, so it's an easy switch. Well, we couldn't paste in the entire blueprint, the water prevented it from happening. Can't wait for the whole planet to be paved over, so we no longer get into this kind of a situation. Damn. I was hoping my past self would notice that assembler that I managed to miss. Oh well, it will be discovered sooner or later. These kinds of things kind of stick out among the oceans of uniformity. Going through these turrets to bridge the power might not have been the best idea ever. Not leaving enough juice for the turrets might get them into trouble. Anyways, time to pick up some foundations, and we can plug the gaps in that assembler array we just built. Seriously? Now we are missing inserters. This made me a bit paranoid, so I checked that the existing factories are all functioning, but it was fine. Okay, this is the last one, I promise. We are now out of assemblers, so time for one last trip back to base. Apart from the single one that I managed to miss with the recipe reset, we are pretty much done with the circuit boards. Obviously, we will need to adjust things according to the throughput on the belts, but it will do for now. The most obvious bottleneck we have at the moment is the iron. But before I could go there to check how we can improve things, I got a message about the slow speed on the research. I already knew the cause, it's the lack of organic crystals. We don't make nearly enough to satisfy the need for the titanium ones. Thankfully, expanding the production should be relatively straightforward. We seem to be consuming the plastics just as fast as we are making them, so keeping this thing balanced will be easy. But first, we need some extra chem labs, and to make those, we need some extra steel, bricks, and some circuit boards. Okay, we can take out the crystal labs, and continue with the plastic ones. We can replace the ones we took off next to those, since the ratio seems to be 1:1. Let's go for 8. We have the room for it. As I've said, we will just place the organic crystal labs right next to the plastic ones, and feed them directly, lab to lab, since the plastic production is the same speed as the consumption. Well, we will keep using this refined oil belt since it's the only one we have in the area, but the throughput does look a bit sparse to my liking, so we will need to investigate that too. Okay. Let me quickly empty out all this water from my inventory by dumping them into the labs, and we can see what's up with the oil. This now only needs a belt to move the crystals into the assemblers, and the expansion project is finished. That ought to make the yellow cube production a bit faster. Now, the oil. We seem to be going as fast as we can, but we do lack the incoming crude oil to make all the refineries work. So let's expand the oil drilling a bit more. We don't have enough extractors, but we do have a couple deposits nearby, so let's quickly make some, and place them down. Oh, nice. We just unlocked the satellite power poles. Sadly, they require a special component that we simply cannot make right now, so they will have to wait a bit. I think a single pump would have been enough to satisfy those last couple refineries, but we are here, so let's just place both. Okay, the refineries are going at full speed. But, I did notice that some of the thermal generators are active. This shouldn't be the case if there is need for the refined oil. It's all down to the splitter the oil goes through. We can only give it a single priority output, so we need to place a second one. And that's that. Now we are really only burning the oil if there is a genuine overflow happening. And since that last research, our queue has been empty, so it's time to repopulate it. I don't really care what with, as long as the labs are busy. We will need every single thing researched sooner or later anyways, so doing it blindly when there is no specific goal we are aiming for is better than sitting idle. Yeah. To make the satellite power distributors, we need frame materials, and those require carbon nanotubes. Technically, we could set up the labs to make them, but that would be jumping ahead a bit too much. We have more stuff to sort out. I would rather build things that will last at this point. As a result, I just placed some extra power poles around the iron setup to speed up the smelting speed. But according to the tower, it's not really down to that, but instead it's a question of the volume of the incoming raw iron. We simply don't mine enough of it. At this point, we had two choices. Either make more iron, or keep expanding the ring of towers. I opted for the latter. We don't really need the main base production to be going full tilt yet. We are just setting things up until things can start ramping up, so it doesn't matter if things are slow on the logistics network. Anyways, I chose to tackle the electric motors next. This is something we haven't done with the towers yet, a 3-ingredient recipe. We already tackled one with a single input with the gears, and we also have 2 double ones with the coils and the boards, but this one needs 3. It seems the component we need the most of is the iron plates. Well, that means it's going onto the middle belt. Why the middle, you might be asking? So that the assemblers on both sides have an equal access to it, resulting in a nice and even stack of them. Now, I was still in furnace planning mode, so I built those belts too far apart. They need to be right next to each other. The trick with this one is that the only way to make it mirrored on the other side of the tower is if we feed the output on the outer assemblers into the returning belt in the middle. You will know what I mean when we get to the end. We also need to do a small offset on the assemblers. There are only 3 ports on one side for inserters, and all 3 will be used to pick things off the belts, so we cannot fit all of them if they are perfectly aligned. There. Now we just copy these assemblers a couple times into the array. Once again, I don't really know the correct ratio. I don't have the calculators open as I record. Plus we don't have the best assemblers yet, so we will just do a random number, and adjust once we have access to the final buildings. We trim back the component belts, and then we feed the returns into the middle one, completing this side. Nice. We can copy-paste this whole thing over to the other end, take care of the connections, and we are done with the electric engines for now. But first, I'm not convinced that the amount of land we have there will be enough, so let's pick up some foundations. Damn. This is too much for our current level of blueprint capacity. We will need to copy over the setup in 2 steps. Let me quickly pick up some assemblers to finish the place, and then we can move on. If we plan on expanding the iron, we might as well prepare for the throughput, so I placed some power poles along the edges of the other side too. First, let's visit the existing iron mine, and make sure it can actually ship out all it gathers before we move on to building new ones. And it seems it can manage the throughput. I also made sure to tell the drones to only go for a delivery if they can carry a full load. That will cut down on the overall traffic, reducing the power consumption. We have a pair of untapped deposits on the North Pole, and there are a bunch of wind turbines there already, so powering things will be easy. Well, we only have interplanetary towers. That's a bit of an overkill for this. We should stick with the planetary ones on our home moon. Okay, that will help, but not nearly enough. We need more. A lot more. Oh geez. Did I really just miss one of the mines with the belts? I think we still have 100% coverage on the nodes, but we will definitely need to fix that belt. Well, I don't see a marked increase in the blue section on the raw iron bar. We need even more. Instead of worrying about expanding the ring, how about we go and set up our first off-planet iron mining operation? We seem to have all we need, so we can go right away. Now, let's see which planet has more iron available for us to exploit. And it seems our paler neighbor is the winner. It is almost 1,000,000 more than the red one. Sadly, the deposits seem to be all over the place. We cannot really focus in on a single area. The closest are the ones around one of the poles, so we go for those. And this is where the game crashed. Thankfully, I only lost a couple minutes of gameplay. Well, this kind of free-form belt placement is not nearly as visually pleasing as the one we would have if we kept to the right angle turns, but it will do. These deposits will either be depleted eventually, or be replaced by an advanced miner. For now, we'll only power the mines. The tower will just serve as a collection point for the raw iron, and the vessels from our home planet will come to pick them up. If we need the throughput, we can either upgrade the bots, or give the tower a set of wind turbines. There. The orange section on the bar means that those units of iron are reserved for a pickup. Vessels are already on their way. This is only one deposit though, we have another one on the other side. Uh-oh, we have a damaged building alert on the top. Those turrets on the dark fog farm are starting to become overwhelmed. Once we are done here, we will need to do something about that. Okay, we are at the limit of our iron throughput at the moment. The vessels can only carry 200 per trip. I keep forgetting just how weak they are without the upgrades. Anyways, let me quickly take care of this base, and then we will go home and deal with the turrets around the farm. And we have a red alert, meaning one of the turrets got overwhelmed back home. Let's wrap things up here, and hurry back. Thankfully, it's not serious. But we should still expand the number of them on all sides, just in case. Good thing the ballistic turrets can be built from the materials already on the logistics network, so we can just collect what we need from the map. In case you didn't know, you can click on the towers from anywhere on the planet, and operate them as you please, including taking out and putting in resources. I don't think it's a bug, it's been like this since the first version of the game, so I think it's an intended feature. This should be enough to keep the enemy drones at bay, even with the occasional blackouts. I might need to rethink this whole farm setup. We should really try to keep the turrets on their own private power network, and maybe we could even move them a bit farther away from the center, so the enemy can expand a little, increasing the number of drones that spawn at a time. Either way, we are now at the end of this episode. In the next one, we will likely continue expanding the ring, and maybe take some time to deal with the farm too. It also wouldn't hurt to set up some large-scale defenses around the planets. We are doing alright at keeping the fog at bay, and they appear pretty starved of resources, but I would rest easier if we had a better way of repelling enemy assaults from space. A ring of missile turrets somewhere near one of the poles should be enough, we just need to make sure to leave enough room for the ray receivers that will inevitably end up there. But that won't come for a while longer. We also need some more power, and the wind turbines are starting to become obsolete on that front. Anyways, if you haven't done it already, I would love it if you subscribe to the channel, and clicking the like button will also help letting me know that the video was worth making. If you would like to help me make a living off this one day, please consider becoming a channel member, where you will get an early access to the videos as I make them. And if you want to give a one-time donation, you can find a link to my Ko-fi page in the description. Thank you for your support, and I will see you in the next one.